Hall's business originated in agriculture, and for 100 years was a farming business. HDNH was awarded the very first biodiversity permit in South Africa and was held up as an example of best practice in how to go about creating the symbiosis between science and traditional knowledge globally. So HDNH in its current phases is solely focused on Zembrin, exploiting the benefits of the scaletium plant and bringing that to the international market. It's a plant with really great characteristics and benefits that it can bring to a world that is fast-moving, stressed, anxious, aging. This plant can offer a natural, safe solution to a lot of people out there. The product that we're building is built on a specific proprietary chemotype, which is a chemical variation that's naturally occurring but only in certain plants. And we're bringing it to the market under the brand name Zembrin. And before we went to market, we spent nearly a year and a half negotiating on an equitable benefit sharing agreement with the indigenous knowledge holders.
When you think about it, the creation of Zembrin and its rise to become one of the world's leading cognitive and stress support ingredients is pretty unlikely. It required an incredible amount of creativity, research, and of course years of investment in clinical studies. But what really makes Zembrin unique is the sheer scope of collaboration that it took between very different groups of people to become the success story that it is today. We had to synchronize efforts between an agronomist, a medical doctor, also an ethnobotanist, and one of the largest landowners and farmers in South Africa, and had to find a way for them to collaborate with the indigenous South African sand population and even the South African government.
I met with Dion and Nigel from HDNH, and they introduced the product which I knew about, but I didn't know they had a patent on it. The idea of a long-term partnership where a wonderful product which has been used for millennia by the San and the Khoi can be shared with the world, whilst at the same time keeping a reasonable percentage, a small but not insignificant percentage for the San, was born, that vision of doing it. And what was unusual is that an element of trust was created at a very early stage in the negotiations, which didn't happen elsewhere. And right from the start, the San Council that I represented just felt we can go the whole way with these guys.
The question we had when we started the business was, how do you build and protect a business based upon this plant? The patents that we've developed and the science backing it around Zembrin are all focused on our specific and unique chemotype. We've developed proprietary know-how and IP around the cultivation of this plant. It gave us, from a supply chain point of view, also full control from seed right through to the finished product.
The sustainability benefits of Zembrin includes the fact that we cultivate under very strict and controlled conditions. We don't participate in wild harvesting, and one of the pluses of the sustainability is that we can reproduce with a very great amount of certainty the quality of our ingredient. HDNH Pharmaceuticals is able to trace every lot of Zembrin from seed to shelf.
Scaletium is a succulent. The water regime is very strict. Don't give too much, don't give too little. The plant has to be grown organically. No pest or fungicide or pesticide or insecticide is allowed. At the end of the day, it has to be as clean and healthy as possible for human consumption. All our standards are very high. Test is done on live plants as well before the drying will happen, just to ensure that it's free of any residues until extraction.
As I'm looking around here, I'm looking at green gold in the form of Zembrin. HDNH is a transparent group that brings us together also to meet the international partners. And this is a huge boost. The agreement that we have with them is very good. The people, they use this money for the better of the communities, especially in the educational part and projects, even in agriculture as well. So yeah, it makes a huge difference. Every kilo, every single cent helps the community.